A technique called HD index painting allows you to paint in full color while rounding to the nearest value in a palette. Here's how to do that in Krita. All you have to do is go into the Layers tab, click the drop down next to the plus button, and add a filter layer. If for some reason you don't have the layers visible, go to the Settings menu, then Dockers, and check Layers. When adding your filter layer, under Map, select Palletize. Click the button next to Palette to select a palette. You can click the arrow pointing into a box to import a palette. Several common palette formats are supported. Color space determines how it calculates the closest palette color, with the default lab being closer to perceived values and RGB simply being the closest mathematical distance to the RGB value. Depending on your piece, one may look better than the other. You can also enable dithering with lots of different patterns to choose from, or you can import your own. If you want to create a custom palette, go to Settings, Dockers, and check Palette if it's not already checked to get the Palette tab. In the Palette tab, click on the multicolored grid button on the lower left, then click the plus button to add a new palette. Whatever color you actively have selected will go in a cell when you click on it. You can eyedropper parts of the image with Control left click. You can right click and remove colors you don't want. Now, I could not for the life of me figure out a way to take all the colors from an existing image and convert them into a palette without manually eyedropping and adding each one. So for that, we'll hop over to GIMP, another free graphics tool. Open your image, then go to Image, Mode, and select Indexed. Make sure Generate Optimum Palette is selected and there are enough colors to cover your image, and click Convert. Now click the little left arrow in a box on one of the docks, click Add Tab, then Palettes if you don't have a Palettes tab. In the Palettes tab, you should see your color map. Right-click and select Duplicate Palette. Give it a name you can find, then click back to the Palettes tab so the data saves. Now back in Krita, we can import this GIMP palette. For the path, type in %appdata %/GIMP, then the version number, then Palettes, and select the one you created. GIMP can be a little bit finicky about when it actually saves the palette file, so if you don't see it in the palettes directory, just click around on the interface a little bit and see if it shows up, or you might have to entirely exit GIMP. Once imported, your palette should show up in the list of thumbnails. If you're unsure, you can hover over each one and see what the name is. One cool thing about HD index painting is you can add or remove colors if you're not happy with your gradients, and you don't have to completely redraw sections. So now that I've shown you how to set things up, let's do a quick painting of a timely jack-o'-lantern. I highly recommend locking the filter layer so you don't start drawing in it like I just did. Drawing in the filter layer will affect its opacity, which can be useful for masking things, but most of the time it's just accidental. Now obviously this is sped up to keep the video short, but this whole process took less than 8 minutes in real time. I was a bit rushed to get this tutorial finished, but just look at how quickly you can throw together some forms and shades when working in full color. You can make full use of layers and transparency, and anti-aliasing comes for free. Another cool thing about this approach in Krita is if you want to have an unindexed background, or use different dither settings, or avoid colors blending in ways you don't want, you can do different palletize filters for different groups of layers. So we can create a foreground group here and have a filter with one set of colors, then create a background group here with a different set of colors and dither settings. Just make sure to unlock your layers before you try to move them into a group, because otherwise it will make copies instead of moving them. So now we can grab the gradient tool and put a gradient in our background, and we could just leave that in full HD if we wanted to. Or we could add a unique filter layer and load a different palette, or the same palette with some different dithering settings. Now just muck about in the background with a big brush with low opacity and kind of break up the monotony. If you give this a go, feel free to share your art on my Discord, and of course a huge thanks to my patrons for helping make this type of content possible. I hope this helps speed up your workflow so you can make even more awesome art in video games. Also, as much as I hate to say it, like and subscribe if you want to see more game dev content. I post videos on Thursdays. Bet you were curious what this looks like without the filters, right? Wait a second. These aren't even in the background group layer. Okay. Well, there you have it. I guess I'll post this Krita file on my Patreon if you guys want to examine it further. Happy Halloween!